This video was brought to you in part by the supporters of the AMTV Patreon. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the Ident Review Extra, the spin-off show that takes a look at one individual ident each episode and gives it the review it deserves. And this time around, we're embarking on a journey through the ITV Network and all the different regional stations that comprised it. And this time, we're bridging the gap as we take a look at border television. Launching in 1961, Border Television was the 14th station to launch as part of the ITV network and primarily served Cumbria, South Scotland, the Isle of Man, and North and West Northumberland. One of the smaller and less talked about franchise holders, Border actually stuck around for nearly 50 years, at least in terms of on-screen visual identity. We'll be taking a look at how they evolved over the years, but I have to say, they picked a logo and by God they stuck with it. So sit back, relax, and let's have a look at the idents of Border Television.
In half an hour, the concluding part of The Two Mrs. Grenvilles. But now on Border, Friday night viewing continues with comedy in The Two of Us. Andrew O'Connor returns with a brand new series of Talk About in a few minutes. To take us up to that, a short extra programme, Border Heritage.
Now though, on Border we join ITN.
Judy Finnegan debates more burning issues at 1:10 on Border. But now our religious magazine for Sunday morning.
At 6 o'clock tonight here on Border, the region's news in Look Around. First though, time to join John Suchet at the studios of ITN.
There's a crisis of conscience now in the bill.
This is ITV1. Looking for something to do?
Consistency never hurt, eh? Right from its beginnings in the early 1960s, you can see that Border adopted the use of a specific logo for its idents. The symbol would affectionately become known as the chopsticks, and actually represents the Border name more broadly than you might think. The area above the line representing Scotland, the area below representing England, whilst the small area towards the left being the Solway Firth. These chopsticks would remain with Border for many decades, including when the channel would move into colour in 1971. Just in time for its 10th anniversary, not much was really changed. A white interpretation of the Border logo was placed against a blue colour slide, with the word colour also appearing outside of the box for several years, as was standard for several TV channels at the time. By the early 80s, this colour moniker was dropped. However, in an age when fellow ITV franchises and competing channels were moving towards more sophisticated, computer-generated sequences, Border remained set in the old ways. It would use this static colour slide all the way up until 1989, making it one of the longest running slides on the whole ITV network. However, as the 90s were about to kick off, things were changing. ITV decided to introduce a more generic look across the regions, and many franchise holders chose to adopt the new design, Border included. For the first time, Viewers in the area would see an animated ident when switching on to the other side, the border logo itself fitting quite well into the segment of the ITV logo that was meant to display each individual region. This generic look would last some way into the 90s, with one change being where the background was injected with a sprawling array of pastel colours. Nice on the eyes for sure, but the way in which it obscures the main logo is a tad annoying. Soon after, however, the ITV logo was dropped so that the familiar chopsticks could take front and centre once again, eventually falling into place via some nifty 3D computer animation, adopting the technique nearly 10 years after many of their contemporaries. These sequences would last right up until 1999, where ITV would once again introduce a new generic look for its franchise holders to potentially adopt. Border once again took it up, displaying the various sequences that would make up the hearts motif ITV was showcasing. However, after nearly 40 years, the chopsticks logo was finally dropped from Border. The name remained for the time being, but it certainly felt more like the ITV umbrella was truly beginning to dominate the other side. By late 2004, the Border name was vastly dropped from any idents and continuity, bringing to an end the humble franchise holder who stuck to their guns and made themselves known with a simple, yet memorable design. Border is far from being one of the big boys of the ITV network, but across its 40-year history, it managed to carve a name for itself amongst viewers in its region, across the country, and amongst enthusiasts today. The chopsticks motif may have seemed like an oddity back in 1961, but today they serve as an excellent example of a symbol that not only held significant meaning to the region it broadcast in, but a shining showcase that if you stick with a strong design, it can help you go on for decades to come. And so that brings us to the end of another episode of the Ident Review Extra. If you enjoyed this look back at Border, then please leave a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel for lots more ident related content. I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
Well, that does bring us to the end of another day here on AMTV. We do hope you enjoyed the programme, and a special thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and to everyone who's tuned in. Until the next broadcast, we wish you a good night.